Working in a hospital morgue isn't for the faint of heart. It's cold, silent, and filled with the dead. But the job pays well, and I thought I could handle it. That was before I learned about the rules. On my first night, the head mortician handed me a clipboard with 4 simple instructions. He didn't explain them, just told me to follow them no matter what. If you hear knocking from inside one of the cold chambers, do not open it. If the lights flicker, stand completely still until they stop. If you see someone in a hospital gown, standing in the corner, do not acknowledge them. Before leaving, make sure all the bodies are still in their assigned places. If one is missing, leave immediately. I laughed, thinking it was some kind of initiation joke. But the mortician didn't laugh. He just turned and left. The first few hours were quiet. The morgue was freezing, the hum of the fluorescent lights the only sound. I busied myself with paperwork and tried to ignore the fact that I was alone, in a room full of corpses. Then around midnight I heard it, a soft knocking. It came from one of the cold chambers. Slow, deliberate. I swallowed hard and checked my clipboard. The name on that drawer belonged to a man who had died hours ago. Heart attack. No chance of survival. The knocking came again, louder this time. My hands shook as I pressed them against the cold steel of the drawer. There was no way. I forced myself to step away. I wasn't going to break the first rule. I sat back down, trying to convince myself it was just the building settling. But then the lights flickered. The room plunged into darkness, the hum of the fluorescents cutting out. My heart stopped. I didn't move. I barely breathed. Somewhere in the room, I heard something shift. A quiet shuffle, like bare feet sliding across tile. The lights flickered back on. The room was empty. I let out a shaky breath and sat down, my entire body trembling. At 2 a.m., I turned to check the logbook, and that's when I saw it. A figure. It stood in the far corner, draped in a stained hospital gown, its head slightly tilted, clenched my jaw and forced myself to look away. I wasn't going to break the third rule. My hands shook as I pretended to focus on my work. I could feel it watching me, waiting. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I didn't dare move. After what felt like hours, I glanced up. It was gone. I checked the clock. Almost time for my shift to end. Just one last thing to do. I walked over to the cold chambers, counting each drawer, checking each tag. Then I stopped. One was missing. My stomach dropped. I checked again, my fingers numb. There were supposed to be 13 bodies. Now there were 12. I grabbed my keys and ran. As I reached the door, the lights flickered again. I didn't stop. I didn't stand still. I slammed through the exit and didn't look back. The next morning, I quit. I never found out what happened to the missing body. Maybe I don't want to know. But if you ever work in a morgue and they give you rules to follow, listen to them. Because some things don't stay. Dead.